Reporting live with new content, Rita Maria, you're on.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be talking about my July reading wrap-up. So July was a bit of a slow month for me. I only read 3 books. One was a physical copy and two were digital. This month, thank God, is already off to a much better start. So today we'll be talking about all the books that I read in July, starting with the first book, Love Radio by Ebony Liddell. So this book was actually a gift from my friend. If you saw my last vlog, she surprised me with this book when we went to see House of Wisdom together for the first time. Surprised me with this book and it was a really sweet gesture. So this book talks about 2 teenagers. Now this is a young adult romance. 2 teenagers. This is Prince Jones and Danny Ford. So they're 2 teenagers in high school. Prince is a radio DJ who has a radio segment, a very popular radio segment, where he gives love advice, and he calls himself the Love Doctor. And Danny is an inspiring author. She dreams of moving to New York and becoming a best-selling author. These 2 are like polar opposites, you can say. He's all about giving love advice, and he's like the love doctor and the expert and everything, and she hates all things romance, and she just finds everything about it cheesy. She doesn't like rom-coms. She grew up with a mom who loves watching rom-coms. She's all about romance and everything, and she is the complete opposite. She finds it all cheesy. She doesn't believe in any of it, and she just hates all of it. So he believes that he can get her to fall in love with him within just 3 dates, and it works. But like, other than that, they both have their own stories. Prince has a very tough life. Prince has to take care of his mom and his little brother because his dad walked down on them when his mom got sick. And Danny went through a very traumatizing experience. There is mentions of sexual assault and PTSD from the experience. It's not a heavy read, I will say. It's not a heavy read, but it is very touched on and everything. So I'll just say read this with caution. Prince is convinced that he can get her to fall in love with him within 3 dates. They go to the same high school. They have mutual friends, but they don't really meet until they bump into each other at a library where he's trying to get his little brother books and she's just like browsing as usual. So yeah, they kind of have a bit of a rough start. She kind of comes off as judgmental and snappy, and yeah, she very much jumps to conclusions. It doesn't go well with Prince, and he kind of calls her out on it, and then she apologizes to him by getting his little brother books. And that's like where it starts. No, I don't usually go for young adult romances, but I think this one is a very sweet book. Prince is a very sweet character, and like his advice is pretty solid, the love advice that he gives, but I find it really hard to believe that a teenage boy is giving all of the advice. I find that a little hard to believe. Danny's story was very emotional. I really like how Liddell portrays Danny's way of dealing with her trauma. I found it to be very realistic, and because like once you go through something that traumatic, it does isolate you from everybody, and it kind of shows how traumatic experiences kind of overshadow your way of living your life. And like her experience really she calls her to push away all of her friends, and she doesn't really go out anymore. She just goes to school and then stays in her room. She doesn't act the way she used to. And then you can kind of see how Prince, even though he didn't know about the story, he still kind of helps her come out of her shell a little bit more as the story goes on. I really loved their dates. Their dates were very cute and wholesome. The breakup, I will say, is the one thing I didn't like. When the breakup happened, it went down a little weird and it felt a little rushed. I don't know, it kind of, I was, when I was reading it, I was a bit like, what? Like, it didn't make sense to me. But yeah, and then the ending was a little rushed, in my opinion. But overall, I did enjoy the book. I gave it 4 stars. Now, moving on to the next book, I read Play Along by Liz Tomford, and oh my god, I love this book. I have to say, I didn't know she could talk Caught Up. Now, this is the second book in the Windy City series. The first book was Caught Up, which follows Kai Rhodes. This book follows his brother, Isaiah Rhodes, who's also on the same team as him. And I like I said, I don't know how she topped Caught Up, but she did. So this book follows Kennedy Kay and Isaiah Rhodes. Kennedy Kay is the only woman on the staff for the Windy City Warriors medical team, and she wakes up in Vegas to find herself married to Isaiah Jones, who is the team's shortstop. And if you didn't know, this is a baseball romance. Bumped into each other in Vegas, got drunk, got married, woke up the next day, found out that they're married, and freaked out because Kennedy's boss is a misogynistic pig and he's looking for any excuse to fire her. He didn't want to hire her in the first place because when he read her name on the job application, he thought she was a man, and then when he met her, he thought she was, when she showed up for her first day, he found out she's a woman and he wanted to fire her.
I am disgusted.
But he had no reason to, so throughout the whole, like the years of her working on the team, he's looking for any excuse to fire her, and this would give him the perfect chance. So to keep her job safe, her and Isaiah have to pretend that their relationship is real, that this wasn't like a drunken mistake, this was all planned and everything. So they have to keep up the act for the entire baseball season. However, here's the problem. Isaiah has a huge crush on Kennedy. He's liked her from the day she started working for the team, but couldn't pursue her then because one, she works for the team, second, she was engaged at the time, and now she's not. He's like working really hard to show her that he genuinely has feelings for her, and he kind of has a reputation of being a player. He's trying to show her like that's not what this is. He genuinely has feelings for her and he really likes her. They get back to Chicago to start the season. They start to notice that their relationship is starting to get a little too real. And that freaks out Kennedy because the reason her last engagement ended was because her fiance cheated on her with her sister, because he said you're not, like, she doesn't know how to show affection, she's not very affectionate, she's not good with the hugs or the hand holding or anything, and that's because of the way her family dynamic was. That's how she was raised. Her parents aren't the most affectionate people, so she finds it hard to be affectionate in general. So that's why Kennedy's having trouble with this this relationship, because it's supposed to be fake. She sees that she's starting to have feelings for Isaiah, but she's traumatized. She's completely traumatized when it comes to relationships because of what happened with her engagement. Isaiah is such a sweetheart. His trauma story about his mom's death broke my heart, and how it made him so protective over everyone that he loves. I'm gonna go into too much detail about it, but you'll see it when you read the book. It's really sad. I loved Kennedy's plotline with her family. I wish we got to see a bit more of the confrontation between her and her parents. We did get sort of a confrontation at a dinner, like during a dinner scene, but I just wished there was a bit more. I wish she got more out of it. And there was like a little thing in this book on the side, Monty and Reese. Like, I'm convinced there has to be a book about these two, Monty and Reese. Reese is the new team, like she's the new owner of the team, or the manager. So if you read the book, please tell me you didn't miss that. Like the way she's like always like pissed off, like, oh, like she's doing this and she's doing that. I'm not seeing hate. I'm seeing enemies to lovers here. I'm seeing a workplace romance. I want to see that happen. No, like this book honestly has, again, the friend group shows in this book, like in Caught Up, we see Ryan, we see Indy, we see Kai, we see like everyone, we see everybody in the series, and I just love that. I love that everyone is still around. I love that we still have that friend group, that family dynamic. It's honestly one of my favorite friend groups in like any book series, and I just love this group so much. Obviously, if you couldn't tell, I gave this book a 5 stars. 100% recommend. I adore this book. I adore this series, and I can't wait for the next book. The last book I read is The Silent Patient. I don't know how to say the author's name, but it's Alex M, something like that. This was a thriller. This is different from the books that I've read and during the month. This is a mystery thriller book that a friend recommended to me, and I've had it in my TBR for a really long time, but when she was talking to me about it, I was like, okay, I have to check this book out. So this book follows Alicia Berenson, who's a famous painter. She shoots her husband and then goes silent in the aftermath. Like, that causes the case to turn into like a huge media sensation. After the crime's been committed, her art skyrockets in value, and she is tucked away in a secure psychiatric unit. And then there comes Theo Faber, who is a criminal psychotherapist, and he is determined to get her to talk. He doesn't know why she hasn't spoken after all these years, and like how did this affect her so much. So he's determined to get her to talk, and he tries many ways, and he wants to understand why she shot her husband. Like, there was never any news or anything about her and her husband having struggles, and they actually seemed very much in love and lovey-dovey and all of that, and he just doesn't understand. He doesn't believe that she would do what she did. So he starts to dig into her past, and in the process he starts to unravel his own secrets along the way. I heard so much about this book, and I had it on my TBR for so long, but I never got around to reading it because I honestly don't know why. I downloaded it and then I just never read it. But a friend of mine was like, I have to read it. So I was like, okay, I did, and oh my god. The first 20 pages were a little slow, but then I couldn't put it down. The way of the writing was so crazy, and it will have you doubting every single person you meet. The second there's a new character that comes up and says a line, you're like, oh, that person did it. That person did this, that person did that. You're doubting every single person, but I will say you will never figure it out until the end. I did have a suspicion. I did have some suspicions about who it was, and I was a little right, but I didn't believe it. I am telling you, when you read this book, you're gonna turn into a freaking lunatic. I was sitting with my iPad. I don't know how you're reading it, whether it's a book, a Kindle, an iPad, whatever. I was sitting there holding my iPad, talking to myself like I'm crazy. I looked crazy reading this book because it's the way the writing drives you crazy. I think the mental instability in this book is contagious because it transferred to me. And once I figured out who did it, once like they revealed who did it, I was like, what? This book was absolutely insane. And my parents were looking, I was like sitting next to my parents when I was reading out. We were in the living room like we usually do at night. My mom and my dad are watching TV. I'm sitting with my iPad and I'm reading and I'm talking to myself, and my parents are looking at me side-eyed like, this girl lost it. I can't, like, I was texting, I immediately texted my friend as soon as I was done with the book. I was like, what is this book? What was that ending? Like, that was crazy. It was so well written. I love this book and I 100% recommend it. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. I will say, like I said, yes, the first 20 pages are a little bit slow, but trust me, get through them. You will not be disappointed. You will not put this book down. As soon as the first 20 pages took me like maybe 2 or 3 days to get through because like it just wasn't catching my attention. But then once I really sat down and I focused and I got through the whole book, I finished it in one sitting and it was insane. So after that rant was over, that is all I read for my July reading wrap up. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.